4 days. 4 days. That's how long after the release of Fntastic's magnum opus the day before, the studio closed down. Let's talk about why, how, and if you paid for this game, how you might be able to get a refund on Next to Nothing. The day before is an open world MMO, a survival game. Guys. It's actually an extraction shooter from Fntastic. It's set in a zombie apocalypse where you're supposed to be able to gather supplies and weapons in order to survive the horde and each other. Right? It's not an original idea, but in the right hands, right, this sounds like a game that could be really good. Right? You guys would agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Done perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't seem like this was placed in the right hands. Fntastic as a studio, they've had some success with games like The Wild 8 and Prop Night, and in 2021, they announced the day before with an ambitious release date of June 2022. However, the game was struck by a delay, and then another delay, and then another delay, until it was released just a few days ago. And during this development cycle, the game had generated a fair bit of hype. YouTubers were talking up this game. When we were researching, we found out this game became Steam's most wishlisted title for short periods of time. Just last month, it topped the wish list again, beating out Hollow Knight, Silksong, and Hades 2.
Yeah, somehow. But
the game would not live up to this hype. It was released into early access for the moderately steep price of $40, and it was immediately getting torn to shreds in Steam reviews from outlets and independent creators. There were glitches. The game features no melee system. Zombies are few and far between. Mechanics are confusing, and players were just confused by the lack of an open world. And you might be wondering why players would feel confused by such a thing. Well, it's because the developers had actually marketed this game as an open world game for a while. And you can actually, if you want proof of that, you can go over to the webpage for this game through Mytona, who we're going to talk about later. And you can see the IGN trailer for this video still up.
Same thing on the Nvidia GeForce YouTube. They still have their super hype. Hey, what's up? We switch over to Unreal Engine 5. Sorry about the delay. Check out a minute of this 4K gameplay.
In a market that's already super saturated too. Zombie games themselves are super, super saturated. I think I heard more people enjoying Dead Island 2, and that still was not super hype after release. So yeah, it's crazy. Right.
The game releases, according to SteamDB, the game peaked at 38,000 players at launch, and it's, as of recording this, sitting around 1,100. And it's also currently delisted from Steam. The Friday after the launch of this game, they also locked down the Discord. No one was able to join the game, and no one was able to make posts. Great sign of things to come. We're kind of rushing this video. We saw this news. It's December 11th, and today Fntastic announced that as a studio, they are shutting down. Quote, "Today we announced the closure of Fntastic Studio. Unfortunately, the day before has failed financially, and we lack the funds to continue. All income received is being used to pay off debts to our partners. We invested all of our efforts, resources, and man hours into the development of the day before, which is our first huge game. We really wanted to release new patches to reveal the full potential of the game, but unfortunately, we don't have the funding to continue work. It's important to note that we didn't take any money from the public during the development of the day before. There were no pre-orders or crowdfunding campaigns. We worked tirelessly for 5 years, pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into the game. At the moment, the future of the day before and Prop Night is unknown, but the servers will remain operational. We apologize if we didn't meet your expectations. We did everything within our power, but unfortunately, we miscalculated our capabilities. Creating games is an incredibly challenging endeavor." That's just
spoken like a real game developer that knows developing games.
We're going to be talking about Lethal Company soon. A video is going to be popping up. Like that was made by one single person, and it's destroying Steam right now. But, you know, games
and
are
oddly
hard.
enough, I'll be talking about another game made by one guy who decided to break away from his mundane 9 to 5 and exploded and broke the internet. So we'll be talking about how hard games are in the near future.
Games are hard, right? Not to
Don't get
minimize.
me wrong. Yeah, games are, especially on this scale. But like, it sounds like there might potentially be a commitment issue here, and or
a trail of breadcrumbs, perhaps. Just a whole trail of them.
Yeah,
something may or may not be fucky with this whole situation. I am
little fucky wucky.
Yeah. So this has absolutely blown up on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, pretty much everywhere. Daisy even got in on the fun with a cheeky little post, although I really don't think they're the ones who should be talking about games that are buggy messes and stuck in development hell. But at least we can still play Daisy and download mods that fix the game.
Yeah. And something we discovered while doing the research for this video is that Fntastic's website, their homepage with no way to actually navigate around, is literally just that statement
on some beige white.
Yeah, it's funny because like you can see the cut of like the square around like what was probably just a screenshot of a Word document, then just like pasted right into the HTML of it. And it's like, that's woof. Really took me back to like going to like TomSaysGoodbye.com to see like an image that Tom of MySpace had put up of like him walking away with bags of money after the selling of MySpace. It was just like, you got yours, Tom. Congrats. And sadly, though, I don't think that anyone over at Fntastic got theirs.
So what's going to happen to customers? Well, if you bought the game and haven't played more than 2 hours of it, you should be able to get a Steam refund. So make sure you do that.
Yeah, that was my biggest red flag, is in their statement, like all income received is being used to pay off debts to our partners. So does that mean anyone who's past the threshold of the 2 hours is just shit out of luck? Or like for instance, Cyberpunk 2077 was a hot mess, absolute dog do when it launched. But there was like that group of people that stuck with it, held out for CD Projekt Red to inevitably patch it, like they have done in previous titles, like The Witcher 3, just before it. So like anyone who truly held out hope that a few months down the line that they'd put these patches in and hopefully like get it corrected in an actual playable game, are they the ones that like get shafted particularly hard here? Like that just seems a little suspicious.
It seems that we kind of have an answer to that question for you, Green. And this comes from Mytona. They're a gaming investment group who actually invested in the project. And according to them, they're currently working with Steam to open up the refund process. They said in a statement, to all the day before players, as the investor of the day before, we would like to provide some updates on the current situation around the game. We are sorry for the fact that the game didn't meet the expectations of the majority of the players. Today, we will work with Steam to open up refunds for any players who choose to make a refund. We are in contact with Fntastic regarding the future of the game. And according to GameRevolution.com, if you want a refund, what you need to do is go to the Help tab in Steam, select the day before in your purchase history, select I would like a refund, then request a refund. Under the reason, select either it won't start or it didn't match the videos and screenshots. And you're going to want to provide some proof. You can do some marketing videos. You can use some articles, anything like that, explaining the shutdown. And they do make a point. Don't mention if you are joining any lawsuits or anything like that, and then submit a response. And seriously, we hope that you guys are able to get refunds. If you did buy this game, you shouldn't be stuck with this purchase. It is absolute horseshit if you do. So let us know in the comments if you were successful.
We like the whole, we will work with Steam to open up refunds for any players who choose to make a refund.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, who wouldn't?
I mean, anyone who doesn't want to be part of Steam's potentially most exclusive online club an empty, derelict eastern seaboard city with maybe about 2 or 3 zombies and like a couple other people, because those servers are staying live, buddy. So you got that game, you might as well be like part of the Mile High Club, or like,
For
I
how
don't know.
long is
I don't
the
know.
servers? You know, like that's unknown. So
I was
unknown.
gonna say,
They could
however
drop
long you want to wear
tomorrow.
the clown shoes, I guess. Until your feet start hurting, I guess.
Well, I
don't
mean,
know.
I would assume at least through December. I mean, you'd think they'd do like a month to month like server rental, unless they like big balled for like a 6-month server release. But I mean,
Yeah, and
I don't
speaking
know.
of which, what I was gonna say is something that we should probably do, and we'll probably end up doing it because I'm saying it out loud. I'll go ahead and post the 2 areas where I found those trailers in our video description, or I'll comment them or something like that. So if you are looking for those game trailers to use as evidence to get your refund, they'll be down below our video.
Yeah.
But speaking of lawsuit stuff, right? We're potentially looking at a conspiracy to commit fraud. This company, Fntastic, in and of itself, has been a target of a lot of allegations since the conception of the video game. Now, like a month before it was originally going to release, so like last May, they're like, hey, we're switching to Unreal 5. We're going to redo our whole game in Unreal 5. Don't worry about it. It's super easy. Video games, you know what? They're pretty easy, they said back then. Well before finding out that video games are hard. But that just being said, is that it isn't brand new that people have been saying that this game is a scam. They have been begging people, consumers as well as journalists, to not say that this game is a scam. And they continue on and on and on about how it's not a scam. Just you wait and see. You'll see the truth. The wording very, very strange, but that could be kind of like a loss in translation kind of thing. So as far as money goes, they, as we had previously stated, said, hey, we didn't take money from anyone as far as like Kickstarter, so on and so forth. But we had to pay our partners. We could potentially also see bankruptcy, which would really suck for anyone that would say be without like a severance package. We still don't know if they actually told any of the workers from Fntastic that they were shutting down, ahead of time. Granted, it's been 4 months since the game's release. A lot of the people that worked on the project, I'm not sure how big. Yeah,
4
like,
days, yeah.
yeah. I mean, as far as like, they didn't have a lot of time to tell them. So, like, did they just find out on Twitter? Are people going to wake up, at some point over in Singapore and in Russia and like be like, oh, I don't have a job anymore? That's neat.
Well, if they're
we don't know.
US based, if they're US based employees and it's
Then they
over
know.
if there's a certain amount, they actually have to be if they're laying off more than 30, I believe it's 30%. I'll have to like re-look. It would technically fall under the WARN Act, WARN.
Yes.
Which they would actually have to give 30-day notice if they're doing a certain amount of percentage of layoff of workforce, depending on if they meet the criteria of how many employees they have. I think it's 50 or more, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been a minute since I've taken my professional and human resources certificate test.
I do want to point out that back in 2020, to when people were really skeptical about their ability to deliver amid all of the delays, they had this to say. So I'm going to read a quote for you. Quote, we didn't take a penny from people, no crowdfunding. So again, no pre-orders, no donations. The game is fully funded by Mytona, one of the largest mobile publishers in the world, who checked the game's build at every milestone per our contract. So if that sounds strangely regurgitated, they've been practicing this spiel for a little bit. They go on to say, we are very confident that this issue will be resolved since we have strong legal partners. The extra time will allow us to better prepare for the release and make the overall improvements for the game. It will become even more polished, optimized, and content-filled. End quote. So I do wonder if that legal team still exists, or if it was just Fntastic's kind of way of, puffing out their chest and just kind of being like, lay off, nerds. You're going to play our game and like it. And you know, it obviously seemed to work. It did have the trend of topping Steam's most wishlisted games several times over the course of, we're coming up on 2 years since it was announced. So either or, it's pretty clear to see that their words ring hollow, that people just generally didn't have a lot of faith in them, and the people that did have faith in them perhaps didn't actually know about this stuff. And they had also gotten in trouble over allegations of recruiting volunteer workers to come and work on the game for free. So if you were QA testing, or if you got roped into doing something else, some people just weren't even paid. So a lot of this is going to come out in the wash, and that will probably take at least about a week or so for all of the information to come out. But this is so messy.
Yeah, it's a little sussy when they're talking about lawyers a year before the game actually launches. Like if you have to like we have legal partners before the game's even like out and doing something, that is a little bit of a red flag. In my opinion, at least, that's a little weird. Like, no, don't worry, this game will be great. And if you have any problems, you can talk to our legal team. Like that seems a little weird,
Yeah.
you know?
It's a little weird.
Yeah. This story, it's coming fast and hard. If there's any major updates, we'll be sure to talk about them. But I want to get some final thoughts here.
So this really comes down to the studios pushing deadlines, and like definitely biting off more than they can chew. Like games this year, 2023 has been like absolutely stunning for great games. Like especially Baldur's Gate. Like Baldur's Gate, like nearly swept, the Game Awards. Like and like Spider-Man 2 was great. Like there's just so much happening this year, and then for them to just like epically flop like this, it's just so sad to see.
I think it highlights it, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
it's super
like it's such a
highlights
wild
it.
year, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it just shows like as of 2023, like if you're planning on releasing a truly great game, like a gaudy contender game, like you have to have your ducks in a row and put your money where your mouth is, because like it's to that point where like there's that bar has finally was pushed down so low over the past 4 years, especially with COVID. And then for like a game like Baldur's Gate to come in and be so rich and complete, and like people would even argue like Spider-Man and Legend of Zelda, like they really like tried to increase that bar of like, hey, this is what a truly great game is, and what would be worth $40 to $60 as like a major line game, right? So if you don't
Absolutely.
have that content and that like attention to detail and that quality, like why are you releasing the game? Like don't bother. It's like Lethal Company. A guy made it in his bedroom, like designed this game, released it for $10, and it has absolutely swept.
Mhm.
Right? Like it is so endearing to so many people's hearts, because it's just a great game. There's like hardly any bugs that we hear about. It's just fantastic. And like if you can do that with Lethal Company, like something that is not overly strenuous, it takes fucking a minute to download because it's a gig. Like you really shouldn't be investing $1 million just in server upkeep for a game that's terrible. I don't know. That's all I got to say. It's such a weird time for games right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, that whole $1 million for server upkeep too. Now that I think back on it, everything that we had seen in prior coverage was like, yeah, I tried to get into a game for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. I couldn't, get into shit. And it's just kind of like, you paid $1 million to have servers that can't even host like reliably 38,000 people. And we brought up Baldur's Gate 3 already, and like look at their peak numbers, and you look at like their servers, like they're like, we need more space, and it's a smaller studio, and but they have anticipation, they have experience, everything like that. It just cries not knowing how deep the waters were that they were wading in. And it kind of feels like Hello Games, they were promising the world and they didn't actually know everything that entailed. Um, and I just kind of wanted to take a second in my closing statement to kind of look back at a couple things, specifically from the page in which you can find the announcement trailer that is on the IGN YouTube, but on the Mytona page still. Because remember, that was their publishing company saying the day before is an open world MMO survival set in a deadly post-pandemic America, overrun by flesh-hungry infected and survivors killing each other for food, weapons, and cars. You wake up alone in a world you no longer remember, setting out to find answers and the resources to survive. And it's very easy to, when you look at these trailers and you hear that, it's very interesting. It was such an intriguing project, and everything that they showed looked honestly like pretty good. It looked like what if Division wasn't made by Ubisoft and didn't suck and wasn't hella boring. And I think that's ultimately what people were looking forward to. And back in I believe it was November or so, they had released this like other kind of hopeful statement, I think, on their Twitter, and it's a little like roughly translated, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's rather endearing to a person who didn't believe in us. We made this game for you too. We accept any kind of criticism and don't hold a grudge against you. Before we continue moving forward together, kindly allow us to note a few things. Please forgive us for not doing the best marketing and teasers. We learn something new and improve ourselves every single day. Please don't accuse us of scamming. That's not true. We didn't take a penny from anyone. Please don't accuse us of asset flip. That's also not true. Our team worked day and night for 5 years to make our dream game a reality. Please don't underestimate our work. It wasn't easy. We are like you. We worked hard, and we're incredibly happy that our game will finally see the light of day for everyone to explore. And there's a few other notes here, but it's really nice here to read like some of these notes. And to a partner who believed in us despite all the difficulties, thank you for supporting us from the genesis of development. Your advice and support helped us make the game. As Christmas and the New Year are approaching, we wish joy and happiness to your family. We love everyone. Signed, Fntastic. And it's just, it's so weird. I feel like I'm watching like a docu-series on Netflix about like a scam artist or like a con artist of some sort, where it's just like no one suspected a thing. He just came in, he did his job, and he filed his papers, and then he would just go home to his family. And it's like, and he was embezzling $50 million a year. Like, I don't know exactly how much blame to put on them. Was trying to pass a shit tier game as AAA their plan from the start, or were they genuine and they really did just go in completely over their head and did not plan at all? I just don't understand how someone can have a video game company develop multiple games, come into something like this and be like, yeah, this is within our wheelhouse and our capability, and then be so wrong that their entire game company just tanks in 4 days after release. Other than that, man, like I've got nothing left to say. Just I'm curious to see where it goes, and really sorry for anyone that would have bought the game and are currently out that money, and anyone that was working at or for Fntastic that is due compensation and are unsure if they're going to get it.
We're going to leave our resources in the description down below, so make sure you check that out, especially if you want to get a refund. We're going to leave that for you guys there where we got all of our information. But that's going to be the news from us this week. If you learned anything, drop a like. If you liked this video and want to see more, then please hit subscribe. That really helps us out. And drop a comment letting us know your thoughts, if you're able to get a refund and anything like that. Until the next one, stay safe, stay healthy, keep fighting the good fights, and we'll see you in the next video.